What's up, guys? It's Flipman Dan with another episode of Uncommon Profit. And today we have the very special guests, actually two very special guests, Jonathan and Nathan of Methodbox. Great to have you guys on.
Yeah,
Hello.
thank
Great
you.
to be on, man. Thanks for having us.
Yes, we've been talking for the last month about being on this podcast, so glad to see that it's coming to fruition.
Finally making it happen.
So Methodbox is a great YouTube channel. If you aren't subscribed already, please go and give them a sub. They're great storytellers, I think, at the heart of what they do. But they're brothers and they are exploring new money and a bunch of other great topics that you could definitely learn from. So we were just speaking offline about new money and how there's different ways to make it in the current realm of flipping and that sort of stuff. So what have you learned from some of the people that you've spoken to?
Yeah, I would say that just from my experience as of recently, especially, I'm sure everybody knows about the GameStop and the AMCs that recently just blew up. Everybody's betting against the smart money people at Wall Street. And I think that's a perfect representation of what's actually going on with the youth right now, as far as being interested in finances. I think there's been a massive surge, especially since the coronavirus started, of people wanting to have their money work for them, either because they need it or just because they're bored at home and are looking for something to do. So they download the Robinhood app, and next thing you know, everybody's they're a future hedge fund manager. But I mean, even me when I was growing up, everybody's always looking up like side hustles online or just like a quick way to make an easy buck in a sense. So when I see that we have a mass amount of people kind of shifting towards this new medium, it kind of shows me like, oh, the markets are starting to change a little bit. It's more kind of geared by, it's more kind of controlled less by the traditional smart money people and more like youth. And the youth is traditionally known to, or notoriously known to, kind of be on the forefront of technology and capitalizing on all like the new things that are coming up. So I think the idea of a person trying to make new money is something that is probably even more so prevalent now than ever before. And it's because of all these new ways to, it's because of the internet, and it's because of people are young and want to make money, because everybody just wants to make money.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is definitely a cultural zeitgeist shift going on with that. I think that there is a wave in finance YouTubers. I think we're catching that wave. Part of that has to do, for the pandemic. With us, something that I know that just being in it, focused on finance from a creative perspective weekly, is just being in it. I mean, when we edited we broke down Meet Kevin, this real estate YouTuber success story, basically, just to see like, hey, what are all the insights you can give on both of these worlds. For me, I mean, that genuinely, like, it was eye-opening in that, because it took a couple of weeks to edit it. There were nights where I was really contemplating my own financial journey, and I was like, why didn't I refi over here? Why didn't I already do this? And so I think it just makes you super aware of your own financial journey. And so it's been cool. It's been cool to kind of.
I think finance content is the only type of content that I can think of that can have a direct effect on your life. Like, you watch a video and then you do something with the knowledge that you learned from that video, and it can have a direct effect on, your life, how much money you have, all that kind of stuff.
That Meet Kevin video was pretty amazing, that you kind of dissect someone's whole success story. What were some of the things that you walked away with?
Thank you. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. For me personally, so he has a really specific, he and his wife, Lauren, have a very specific real estate investing strategy. A lot of that has to do with residential real estate, and then kind of just letting tenants pay off your debt. So it's very much like, get in debt. It's okay. Don't worry about cash flow. Worry about just the pay down of other people paying your mortgage, and then scale that. Take the next property, and then before you know it, in their case, they have 22 properties. So I think for me, it kind of opened my eyes to how doable it really is to grow a real estate empire. It's not that scary if you're just creative with the moves, that the chess moves that you make. The hardest part is just getting started. But on top of that, Yeah, I mean, directly, like we're getting our real estate license now because of that, simply because we're planning on buying more property and we can represent ourselves as agents. So you could put the commission toward
Down payment.
doing your down payment on that investment. So that alone is reason to perhaps start a whole different career and as a real estate agent, you know?
Yeah, from just buying a house recently, I can tell you from experience that it hurts giving those commissions to the listing agent and the real estate agent, especially
Yeah.
when you're going out and doing your own homework for people like us.
Yeah.
So another kind of shift that we were we just kind of talked about, Nathan, is more towards the gig economy. What is the deal with all these different ways that you can make money, and is this viable, say if you have a car and no job and a bunch of time?
Yeah, well, I think for sure it depends on the type of person you are, because some people prefer the 9 to 5 sit down job where they go, they don't have to, they work a very specific set of hours, and then they don't have to worry about bringing their work home or having their work affect something like the mileage on their car or how much gas they have to spend money on, those kind of things. But if you're the type of person that doesn't like working for somebody else, and you don't mind interacting with people, you're probably going to have at some points customers that are a hassle to work with. I'd say go for it. There's so many different options out there. At least try it, because you could essentially work whenever you want. You could go wherever you want. It's a great way to explore a city. Just throw on a podcast while you're driving around. I haven't done too many different like delivery services. I've mainly done like Instacart, Postmates, Uber Eats. But from what I've heard, people that take it more seriously, they can get like a full, almost like a equivalence comparable to a minimum wage income from it. So I would say, yeah, I mean, from my experience, it was pretty fun doing it, just because, like I said, I got to explore and make money while doing it, and just like throw on a podcast. Yeah, I would say go for it. Try it out at least a little bit. If you just need like some quick buck, like a quick money for whatever reason, maybe your rent's due in a couple days, you need to make like a quick extra $200. I think that's a great option for a lot of people.
What would you say were some things to avoid or things to do after you kind of experimented with doing these things that could maybe make, say, a person that's just trying to make side income like that, their lives a little bit easier?
I would say try to be strategic about what areas you work in, because you don't want to be, taking an order that's like in one area and then having to drive all the way across to go drop it off somewhere else. And then basically you don't want to just be zigzagging around your city. It is better to stay in a town, maybe like do some research and figure out where there's like a high concentration of orders, or, I tend to find that higher end neighborhoods tend to order, maybe because they're more wealthy, so they're more likely to be the type of person that orders delivery services. But yeah, I tend to find a higher concentration in those areas, and they tend to tip a little bit better. So I would try to find a key area and then just stick to that area, because it's going to be less driving around, and it's going to be you're probably going to end up getting more orders within a smaller amount of time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you guys have accrued a decent amount of success on YouTube, and a big thing about monetizing YouTube that maybe is just outside of AdSense is brand deals. And you guys kind of did a deep dive visiting I guess a brand
Integration company.
It's
Yeah.
an
Okay,
agency,
yeah.
An agency.
Brand integration company. Okay. So Jonathan, what was the whole experience like there, and what did you learn?
Well, so the CEO, the founder of the entire company, his name is Sean Duras. He that's just one branch. That's just one facet, is the brand integrations, and that was just an idea they had on a whim like a few years ago. To hey, we're YouTubers. Why don't we find brand deals for other YouTubers? And then it ended up being a success. But they've got a lot of other things going on. They have a gaming
professional esports team.
They have like multiple super successful YouTube channels. So I think kind of just seeing it all was, because we were there. It was it was a bit of a field trip. And I think just taking it all in and seeing an entire team of maybe 30 people that were kind of helping one person build his brand and his company was really, I don't know if inspiring is the word, but it was definitely moving in some kind of weird way. and that it made me want to focus more on, getting our own stuff done. 'Cause we all have those thoughts of like, can't wait till we have our editor, can't wait till we have our TikTok social media person, So, but specifically about the brand integrations, so in that video that you're referring to, we did do a deep dive. We did talk to the agents at Space Station, and we did talk to creators that were being represented, and everyone has different takeaways. I think it's just more about the idea of being a creator and getting to a point in your own journey where you can have someone else represent you. I think there's just something to be said about that as far as to strive for. There's also something to be said about finding your voice, because then that's going to attract a certain amount or a certain type of brand. So it's kind of like knowing yourself in that way.
I think one of the interesting things that I've learned from that is, it doesn't necessarily matter how many, followers you have. I don't know if you're familiar with the term a micro influencer, but it's essentially a person like you have your influencers like the David Dobrik's, the Mr. Beast, who are huge, right? And then you have like your micro influencers. So say I'm a basketball micro influencer and I talk all about basketball, right? It's probably better off and better bang for the buck for a company that makes basketballs to try to strike a brand deal with me versus David Dobrik, because first of all, I'm going to be cheaper because I have less of a following, but also because my audience is probably going to be interested in basketball, so the conversion is going to be even higher. So I think even you don't necessarily need a lot of followers. You just need to have a good niche that has a good amount of passionate followers. Just the idea of having 1,000 true supporters.
Engagement,
just to be super engaged with your audience. And there's so many brands out there. I think more and more are opening their eyes to the idea of influencer marketing. They're seeing the power behind it, and how a lot of the young youth in the younger generations are being their minds are being not manipulated, but molded by these people. It's the new celebrity. So yeah, I would say now it's like the gold rush. There's so many opportunity out there. It seems like a no-brainer. If you're interested in a hobby and you don't mind making a video, I would say just go for it.
I very much think that we are in the age of the influencer. A lot of people don't like that word, but we need a word, and that is kind of one of the tiers that we like to tackle, because that is the modern entrepreneur, is the influencer.
With being an influencer, the path to making income isn't always a straight line. It seems like as influencers, we need to find different ways to make money. What have you seen with, your own journey and some of the other ways that these other influencers are making money?
So in the beginning, we were just kind of grinding at our YouTube channel, just trying to turn on videos. Obviously, we're not getting paid. We're doing it because it's like Jonathan said, we're betting on a stock. Hopefully, one day it pops off. So we're okay with putting in that time. I think as we became more and more established, because we're on year 3 now at this point.
About to hit year 3, yeah.
I think as we become more and more established, we started with a lot of people. We kind of started with this wave where we came up with a lot of other vloggers that were in our community, and we saw a lot of them kind of just drop off as time went on. There are a couple of them that are still sticking with it, like us. But I think what people see from an outsider's perspective is okay, these guys are serious about it. And over time, people started to see the equity in that, and then it started to bring opportunity. So in the beginning, we weren't getting that many opportunities, but as like I said, now we're at year 3, they're starting to come up again as, we've been established on YouTube for a little longer. So yeah, for example, when we went to the Space Station, the brand integration agency, we went on like Jonathan said, a field trip. We were shooting a video for a guy named Daryl Eves, who was doing a little documentary on that, and we were the shooters. And it just so happened that because we were there, we're like, hey, Jonathan and I had a conversation. How could we capitalize on this situation to make a video for ourselves? So it's kind of just finding the opportunities and putting yourself in them. But yeah, I would say it's going to take a while for the opportunities to come, but when they do, you'll know it may not seem worth in the beginning, but just know that you're building up to get to that point. Same with brand deals. Everybody has to start somewhere, and you have to build up that audience so the brand can feel like it's worth it on their end to give you money to promote whatever product they want you to.
Gotcha. So more just stay consistent with the long tail, and eventually it's going to start paying off. And, you know, just have passion for what you're doing. It seems like that's the biggest thing, is just to start out with something that you really are passionate about, and, you know, create something that people can a movement that people can kind of become involved with.
Yeah,
So
and I would just make sure that every time if you are gonna go the content creator route, that every time you put out a video, you just kind of like look at the back end and see, okay, what can I improve on in this next video? Because you don't want to just keep making videos and not improving anything, because you're just gonna stay stagnant at that point. So always like try to look for something to improve, whether that's like retention, if it drops off in the beginning, maybe change up your intro, if like posting times. There's so many like thumbnails, titles. There's so many different variables that are out there to work on. So it's, yeah, there's no excuse to not try to improve.
yeah, so are you kind of with your ideas for videos, are you looking beforehand and say searching something that's either a trend or something like that, or is that kind of informing your decisions about what videos to make, or how do you come up with the ideas?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do, so once you find your voice, what you kind of want to do, a lot of it is kind of playing to the three different aspects of YouTube. There's the audience, what the audience wants. So that's comments that you're getting. That's what YouTube, the algorithm, is kind of promoting. If you're observing what someone in your niche is like on the homepage, what are they pushing? And then there's you as the content creator. Like, what do you feel comfortable making and want to make? And what do you want to represent you, and what do you just feel passionate about, as you said. So I think as long as you're checking all three of those things, you're doing your due diligence. But to focus on the algorithmic part of it, yeah, a lot of recon and research. I would say that it's seeing what's out there. Like in Nathan's case, he watches a lot of YouTube, so there's always like the new story that's out there, and we kind of missed the boat on this GameStop story. Now there's so many videos that's not worth making, but there's kind of like keeping our ears open to what's kind of a topical topic that we could jump on, and then those are, all of a sudden you have like the next 3 days, it's going to be nonstop. Let's produce this video to get it out there so that it's still relevant. But then there's like the more long-term stuff that like the more personal, like Nathan living in his car for a week, which is the video we're about to put out, which is, hey, this is kind of a cool idea. It's obviously going to take a week to do and take some time to produce. So that's kind of can be going on in the back end. So it's a balance of doing those kind of videos with the topical, I would say.
Yeah, we try to like brainstorm lists, but from those lists of 100 ideas, we probably maybe choose like one of them or something. So it's a lot of brainstorming and like just maybe putting ideas on the back burner, or just not giving them the light of day, or it takes a lot for us to be like, all right, this is the video we're going to make this week. We really got to believe that it's going to be a video that's going to either get a lot of views or help build our brand from like a personality perspective.
The rollout is always changing, and
we try to plan like 3 weeks in ahead, but it always gets changed because either something comes up that's topical, or if something takes longer to edit, or a new opportunity. There's always something that changes. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, so I mean, that is kind of a great way to approach making YouTube videos, and the final product with what you guys are producing is such like high production quality that it can, I feel like it definitely has an effect on viewer retaining and that sort of thing. Is there, as filmmakers, is there anything in your toolbox that you would highly recommend for a potential vlogger to pick up?
yeah, I mean, I would say, so one of the things from a retention point of view, I think that's what you're kind of talking about here, is keeping people engaged and watching. How long can you have someone stay watching your video? There's this thing called pattern interrupts, which that's the term, but it's basically the idea of you're watching a video and then it could be as simple as you see it happen on YouTube all the time, where there's like a quick punch in, or there's an angle change, or there's a location change. And if you really pay attention to those pattern interrupts, it's happening maybe every 4 to 5 seconds, and it's the age of, along with the influencers, the age of the ADD generation, so it's like keeping people watching. So I would say elevate those pattern interrupts. And a really good way to elevate them is to, in our case, we like to do cinematic scenes. It's like, well, why don't we, instead of this just being a talking head like people are used to, and we deliver this information in this kind of just like stagnant way. Why don't we like turn it into a cinematic scene where we have 4 different angles on it, you can visually see, and then you hear voiceover what's going on. So
Yeah, I think that at like the most basic level of like if you're just looking like without buying any kind of equipment or anything, if you want to elevate your piece and make it more cinematic, what Jonathan just said, try to document a specific shot from multiple angles. That immediately is going to make it feel like, okay, this is an actual production that's going on. It's like, oh, now we're looking at it from this angle, but it's the same shot. It's like, what? They got like 5 cameramen, but it's really just the same camera, just in a bunch of different spots.
I would also say getting creative with the equipment that you have. So everybody has what they have. Some people just have a phone. Some people have some solid gear. For us, like we have one of our favorite tools is the drone. But one of the things that we're challenging ourselves to do is like, hey, how can we utilize this tool, this drone, in a way where it doesn't feel like a drone? Like everybody gets the aerial shots and stuff. But what if we like turn this into a really quick, really smooth dolly? Or what if we did basically just get creative with the gear that you have? I think people notice production value and they'll be on board more so than not, because they appreciate that you're appreciating their time by putting in the work on the production.
Yeah, even if it's just like take 30 seconds right before you're gonna get a shot and just be like, how can I make this shot more interesting? If you just ask yourself that every single time, you're golden.
And not just interesting, but purposeful. Like it's got to make sense to what you're doing. You know, it can't just be like you're doing it just to do it.
Man, those are awesome, excellent tips. I mean, speaking from someone who's got more tools than he knows what to do with in the studio here, I find most of them are collecting dust. So
Yeah,
I definitely do need to incorporate more of them into the videos. With that, what have you found that is more important, like either high quality or consistency? Because I know at the end of the day, I'm sacrificing high quality in a lot of my videos just to consistently put out something every week. What's your take on that?
It's definitely a balance. I'll keep it short. It's definitely a balance, but I think that at the end of the day, connection comes from probably consistency. People just want to hang out with you, especially on the platform that is YouTube. A lot of times people just don't care about the quality. People just are like, hey, I just want to like get to hang out with you today because I have some time to kill right now as I'm laying in bed before I go to sleep or whatever the case is. And so yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure, finding that balance.
I think it depends on the type of channel you're trying to be. Because if you're trying to be a vlog channel, then the obvious answer is, okay, you got to focus on consistency, because people come to you versus a TV show because they want to connect with you on a personal level. And the more they can do that throughout the week, the better. If you're trying to be more of like a Vice or like something that's more produced, I think I would say that you should focus more on quality and still be consistent, but consistent, not necessarily like weekly. Like consistency can be, I'm going to post a video the first of every month, that's considered consistent. And like your viewer knows when to come back to your channel, and they'll start to understand like, okay, the reason I have to wait this long of a time is because I'm getting these super highly produced videos, and I think that's worth it. So I'm going to subscribe to this channel because I know that's what when I'm subscribing, I know that's what I'm like getting into essentially. So yeah, it's tricky. I guess you have to ask yourself, are you trying to make your channel more so personality based, or more so like you're trying to provide value as much as possible? But yeah, it is kind of a double-edged sword. It's tricky.
Yeah, I hear that. So switching the topic just a bit, you guys kind of treat your channel almost as like a social experiment in some of your videos, which I find super entertaining. So you've done a couple of things that were pretty actually incredible accomplishments, if you will, like the 5K thing for 30 days straight. How did you come up with that, and what was that like?
Well, okay, so we're in the middle of quarantine, and before we were like fine, because we kind of have done like micro pivots a little bit on our channel. So before we were more so like a filmmaking channel, like making tutorials and that kind of stuff. And then we didn't want to like be that forever, just because like we enjoy filmmaking, but not necessarily like talking about filmmaking. So we're kind of like, okay, what's something that could be relevant to everybody, that could be consumed by everybody, that doesn't necessarily just care about like the best camera. So we kind of like gave us some thought, and we're like, okay, what if we try like a little bit of like self-improvement a little bit? So we started doing that, and then that's where that video came from, like that couple weeks of self-improvement that we're trying. But and obviously now we've kind of deviated more towards finance, but I do feel like they all kind of help each other out and like lend the I feel like the person that would be interested in finance probably is interested in self-improvement, just because they all kind of fall within the same idea of realm of like topic. So that's where that idea came from. Yeah, that was brutal, man. 30 days of 5Ks. Oh my God. I think I've like since then I've ran like 2 times just because it was such a killer experience. Oh man.
Yeah, that's the thing. You think that you're gonna be like all like when you're doing self-development challenges, just like, oh, I'm gonna grow so much from this, and then you do the experiments, and then you just like don't ever visit them again. It was like, we just did it for content. That's all, you know.
Yeah. So, any other like crazy plans for something like that in the future?
I would say that, I mean, I just did the living one, which was pretty, yeah. I mean, you'll see. It was a pretty interesting experience. Yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of doing like those. I think those really lend themselves to YouTube too. Just the type of content is like being sensational and like doing over the top things like that. And you know, I have fun with them, and I think they're cool life experiences to just have, whether that's just like to make you a better person or just a cool story you have in your head in the bank. Yeah, I mean, I would want to. I think it'd be an interesting idea to explore different jobs that people do. Like, oh, I tried working a minimum wage job for 30 days, or you know, kind of like you remember the show Dirty Jobs?
Of course. Yeah.
So it's not like that kind of vibe, but like more so, not necessarily dirty jobs, but interesting jobs.
I think at the end of the day, when something that we've always had thematically on top of the filmmaking, on top of the like being you be a better you, basically, is like I would say is investigators. We fancy ourselves investigators, and that's when I think we're really thriving. We're out there in the world. Like there was a point in the finance like 5 videos back where it was like, let's just try the talking head thing, let's see what it's like. And we realized like it just wasn't for us. It was like we were too analytical, and but once we started getting more mission based, more let's get back out in the world, even though there's a pandemic going on, more story based, all of a sudden I think the audience liked that more, we liked it more. So what I find interesting about where we're headed is because it's finance and because we have to be transparent about, you know, our own finances. And, you know, we're about to go into this real estate series on like what it took to acquire and remodel this property, you know. I think as we start to make more money as entrepreneurs, that'll be revealed more. And who knows, 5 years from now, where we'll be in our own financial journey. It'll definitely all be documented, and we're going to try to provide as much value as possible in all these experiments that we've been doing along the way. And I think there will be an experiment that we do that will be life-changing in some capacity. We just don't know what it is yet, you know?
And that's why you do it.
Yeah.
So are you guys, as entrepreneurs, how is your business kind of formed? Is it like an LLC? And how have you gone about doing that? Or is it like a partnership or that?
We actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I think 2 days ago we officially filed to make Methodbox an LLC, just because, you know, we're like we said, we're starting to pick up all these client work, and you know, the AdSense is starting to, you know, become a little bit more worth something. So we just wanted to, you know, make sure that we could, for tax reasons, be able to have it all documented in one spot and like write stuff off. So I think since 2020, we really tried to like hone in and really make it seem more like a business.
This is the first time that we've had to. We're kind of, I mean, the first thing we for sure did was trademark the name when we first started, but we're like, hey, we don't have to turn this into a business just yet until we're like actually making money. And so now that we are, I mean, I think that's something for a lot of people to consider, is because it does cost money to have a company as far as tax reasons. But so unless you need to write off expenses as the company, or you're worried about getting sued in some capacity and wanting to be protected from your own personal assets, yeah, you don't need to. But it's just interesting, like Nathan said, that we are at that you know, crossroads right now, like literally 2 days ago. Yeah, we just filed.
Well, congrats, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
So what does the future hold for Methodbox?
I think a lot more experiments, like Jonathan said. I think we really enjoy going out and investigating the world. So we're really for the world to just open back up so that we can just get back out there and tell more stories. But yeah, I mean, experiments, new ways to make money, fun and creative ways to make money. Just anything that's fun and interesting. I think with the YouTuber, if you're making a type of video, a type of content, and you've garnered an audience, chances are your audience members are probably interested in the same things that you're interested in. So if you make a video about stocks when you on Robinhood, when you're a real estate channel, if you have the right type of real estate audience on your real estate channel that likes you, I think they're more so there after a while for you as a personality than the content itself.
I've really been enjoying the comment section these last 2.5, 3 years on YouTube, and getting to interact personally, getting to connect with people, and then just sharing ourselves. And so I'm interested in more growth, but more so because I kind of want to hear more from the audience. Like, what do you want to? It's just more information. What do you want to see from us that we are like down to go make?
I love the idea of like making stuff that's interactive with the audience, because I think that's a great way to get engaged and feel like they're part of the experience. So like when I was living my car, I was doing the Instagram, choose my adventure, just anything to make an audience to further that connection, because I think that's very important, and it's a big thing that a lot of people not necessarily like look over, but don't that underestimate, I guess is the right word. That community, they tell you what videos to make. They're the ones watching, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. They're the ones commenting. It's like, yeah, they're the ones that are like helping make this all possible. So to try to make them part of the experience as much as possible, I think is really cool.
That's the beauty of the whole modern day entrepreneur being the influencer, is that it is this interactive thing. Before, we would go and we would have this one-sided connection with our favorite actor or artist, musician. But now it's like reality television, but you have direct access to the people that you're having that experience with, like you're seeing on the screen. That's like the coolest part, I think, about the whole influencer world. So yeah, playing more into that part of it.
That's awesome, man. So are you, you talked about connecting to your audience in the comment section. Are you spending some time or cutting out some time to do like outreach to other channels and other people that maybe are inspiring you?
Yeah, we have like a whole list of people that we want to collaborate with. I think with collaboration, it's kind of tricky because, you don't want to feel like it's transactional, like you're only reaching out to get, if it's a bigger person, you're only reaching out because you want their viewers or whatever. So we really only try to reach out if we think we have a good idea that would benefit both channels. Whether it's like a good idea that we think could, the other person would get excited about, or we want to make a piece about somebody. Another way that we do, like the unofficial way to collaborate, was kind of how we did with the Kevin video, where like we didn't necessarily meet him, but we made a good video about him, and he liked it enough to share it on his community page, which is the equivalent of him just uploading a video. So it's like you gotta kind of think outside of the box, I guess.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. When it comes to collaboration, be tricky. Also, try paying it forward. If there's someone that's smaller than you, be the person that like helps them grow. That way it doesn't,
Like me.
it doesn't, yeah. That way it doesn't feel like you're constantly always trying to like get something out of it.
Yeah, I hear that. So when someone reaches out to me for me to be on their podcast, I'm sure I'll give them a yes. So guys, it was great to have you on. I mean, this is a great two-way convo, and I feel like we both got a lot out of it. So thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Man.
Thanks for all the kind words. Thanks for wanting to share your experiences and all the things.
I feel like we've learned more from you than you learned from us.
So is there any final thought that you want to leave the audience with? The title of the podcast is Uncommon Profit. So is there any final pieces of advice that you would want to give out there to the audience to make an uncommon profit?
I would say be open-minded. You know, try to go on the internet, see what's out there. You know, it could just be a quick Google search away. You know, there's so many different fun and unique ways to make money. I think I like heard some random dude or some dude was making money like growing portobello mushrooms and selling them to restaurants. It's like there's so many different unique ways to make money out there. You just gotta have an open mind and be you know, creative with it and actually give it some thought.
I would say try it too. It's one thing to like you watch channels like ours and be entertained by, you know, these unique ways to make money. And it's another thing to like, all right, I'm going to pick one of these things and actually do the experiment myself. You know, as creators that are investigating every week, like that's been some of like the more fun, my fondest memories is like getting out there and like having to do the mission itself, you know? So yeah, pick something, go make some money and try it yourself.
All right, guys, thank you so much. And once again, Methodbox on YouTube. How do we find you on Instagram and
Same
just
thing
any other?
at Methodbox. The only one that's different is Twitter. It's Methodbox YT, like as in YouTube. So Methodbox everywhere, essentially.
All right, guys. Well, have a great day, and we will stay in touch, my friends.
Sounds good, bud. Thank you.
All right. See you, man.
Later.